Okay, I'm going to be using the copper tow cables on this, and I'm using these hold downs right here from Mado, and I think they're going to look pretty darn good when they're done. I'm using a shackle to hold the two ends of the cable together. Just, I think that's pretty, I don't want to say realistic, but I think it's believable that they would use a shackle like that and keep extra shackles on the back. The problem with these things is trying to turn them black. They just don't want to take paint on the copper cable. The ends are not really a problem, but the cables themselves, I've just had all kinds of problems. The paint flakes off. I'm sure other guys will tell you the same thing. It cakes up and doesn't want to show detail. So what I've done is, you can see I've got a wire on one end. I don't know how well this is going to work out. Trying to do this on camera. I tried it once already and it didn't work. So this is like take two. But there's the cable. I've just got that's just a couple of sinkers, fishing line pieces of lead hanging on the end there. And what I'm using is this stuff right here. It's India ink. And I did these on my Jagdpanther, and it works pretty good, but it takes a while. It's going to take probably 10 applications, like 5 on one end, and then I'll switch ends and put the weight on the other end and do it from the other side. And here you'll see why. Because what I'm doing is, I take the dropper. This bottle came with an eyedropper. Okay, and I've got the dropper, and then all I do is, this is really hard to do on camera. I just touch it on there and let the ink run onto it, and it'll flow. It'll flow right down. And I just come around and make sure I'm getting it all the way around. And it's going to take several applications, so don't worry if you miss a spot. But it'll flow, and eventually it'll start to flow on its own all the way down. So you want to keep a paper towel around in case it beads up at the bottom if you get too much on there. But it's really easy to do. You just, like I say, just touch it on there. I'm hoping you guys can see this stuff flow down. I don't know how well it's going to show up on camera, but that's what I'm doing. And I'll do like 5 applications, and then I'll switch the wire to the other end and the sinkers up here, and turn it upside down and do it again and let it flow in the opposite direction. And I think that works pretty good. I'll get a couple shots of the ones on my Jagdpanther so you can see. Okay, this is the one on the Jagdpanther. And when they're finished, as long as she stays in focus, get a little bit of the copper left, but you got to look really close, and I think it came out pretty well. Now that's just India ink on there, and you can also touch up in spots with Sharpie. But the black India ink, it kind of gives it that oily look that a cable has. It doesn't really show up that great on the camera, but when you're in person, you can really see that some kind of different technique was used on there besides paint, and it really does turn out looking like a steel cable. So, I don't know, has anybody else found any better methods for making these cables black? Because so far, that's the best I've been able to do. You can see the one on the other side over there too. I made my own, those are just scratch-built hold downs there from sheet styrene, thick sheet styrene, and I drilled holes for a styrene pin. So those are actually functional. If I take my dental pick and pop the pin out from one side, I can remove the cables. Next is going to be those darn spare track links if I ever get around to it. So many projects and so little time. You guys know how that goes. So let me know what you think, and if anybody knows a good way or a better way to make those black, because we're doing them on the Panzer III, and this would be the time.